Now, members, we're moving on to item number 13, to hear a presentation by Sligo Neolithic Landscape Group and the proposed application to the tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites for the Sligo Neolithic Landscapes. At the outset, I want to welcome Stefan Berg and Robert Hensey, who are going to give a short and brief presentation, and I'll bring Dorothy Clarke in also on that, and I know that the chair of the Sligo Health Forum wants to say something. So with your agreement, members, 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. Yeah, and within the last year, Sligo County Council would have worked with Sligo Neolithic Landscape Group in the preparation of an application to the tentative list for the UNESCO for one of our unique sites to be considered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, the department would have requested or would have opened for applications back in 2019, and the closing date for applications, it was the 31st of March, and we now just have heard that that has been extended to June of this year. But the Sligo Neolithic Landscape Group have been busy and working on, I suppose, the conservation of Sligo Neolithic landscapes, particularly the passage tombs, for the last number of years, and they have put together a very good, I suppose, draft application, which would have already received approved by the department. We're now kind of in this last stage of to get onto the list. So a lot of work has to be done over a number of different areas. So I suppose maybe just brief the members in relation to this and what's involved. Both Robert and Stefan are here to make, as you say, a brief presentation in relation to what is to be covered in the application going forward. And I suppose what exactly a World Heritage Site status would mean for Sligo. So I think it's Robert I call on first, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, thanks, Robert.
Okay, so thanks, Cathaoirleach, and thanks, Dorothy. I'll try and share our presentation now with you. So I hope you can all see that. I'd like to begin by thanking the Cathaoirleach, the Acting Chief Executive, Council members and staff for the kind opportunity to speak this morning. And I'd particularly like to thank Director of Services Dorothy Clarke, Heritage Officer Siobhan Ryan and Frank Moylan, who have been providing invaluable help and guidance over the last number of months. So just by way of introductions, our group are Sligo Neolithic Landscapes. We are a public participation network group established in 2015 with a mission to protect and promote Sligo's Neolithic heritage. The members of the Sligo Neolithic Landscape Steering Committee are all from or have lived in Sligo for many years and are professionals from the field of archaeology, history, heritage, farming, the arts, tourism and the digital world. Within the group, we have leading research and expertise on Irish passage tombs at a national level, and especially so regarding the sites in this region. Our steering committee are myself, the chair of the group, Dr. Stefan Berg, Eugene Flynn, Dr. Fiona Gallagher, Austin McTiernan, Pádraig Meehan and Mark Ruddy. So you can see some of us hopefully pictured over. Not pictured there is Declan Lavin, who I think would be known to many of the officials present. Declan is a retired dairy farmer who twice served as county chairman of the IFA and of course former chairman of County Sligo Enterprise Board. Along with these members, our group and the World Heritage concept are supported by a growing number of individuals, PPNs and community groups. If you're interested, you can find out a little bit more about our aims and objectives at our website, sligoneolithic.org. So in partnership with Sligo County Council, as Dorothy just said, we aim to submit a bid for the passage tomb landscapes of Sligo to be placed on the UNESCO World Heritage Site tentative list I know that's a kind of odd phrase, but basically it's a list or a kind of panel that the state will consider as possibilities to be put forward to UNESCO for full World Heritage Site status. And it's a competitive list, so there are other groups in the country also applying. We have a very good case for inclusion, though. So on the map here in red, you can see there are only 5 World Heritage locations in all of Europe that are focused on megalithic monuments. So you've Brunabóinne there, just sort of left to right, the Orkney Islands, just north of Scotland there, Stonehenge in southern England, Antequera in Spain, and Malta then furthest to the right, the Temples of Malta. And there's actually only 13 of these sites with this focus in the whole World Heritage Site list. The special qualities of the Sligo sites, in particular their careful landscape settings and the extraordinary degree of preservation here, offer something not found at these other locations. It is an almost intact piece of the fabric of the world of Neolithic people. So where are these monuments? In the image on the left, you can see the locations of most of the passage tombs of Sligo. They're represented there as those little white dots. Most of them will know them or call them cairns on the top of hills and mountains, or places associated with our mythology and legend, such as beds of Diarmid and Grania. The sites are found in many well-known locations, such as Knocknarea, Carramore, Ballygawley, the Ox Mountains, Carrakeel and the Hill of Kesh. In all, there's approximately about 85 passage tomb tradition sites in the county. Most of these sites can be broadly encompassed by circles just over about 20 kilometres apart, connected by the course of the Unshin River, as you can see in the image here on the right. And the circle in the north has the Carramore tombs at its heart, with many other monuments are, drawn into this circle or surrounding Carramore. And then the circle to the south is anchored by the Brickleave Mountains, Carrakeel and the Hill of Kesh. But these sites are not only found in the major clusters. Often they are just by themselves in the landscape, or right in our midst, such as here as Abbeyquater North, surrounded by the Garavogue Villas, built in 1940. And sometimes this is jokingly referred to as Ireland's first roundabout. The other site, in a radically different landscape context, is a small passage tomb known as Cailleach House in the Ballygawley Hills. And much of that land surrounding land is very sort of marginal land or under quilcha forestry. So even though these two monuments might look very different to us today, they are very closely related Neolithic sites built over 5,000 years ago by people with a shared ancestry, or maybe even by the same community. It should be noted that UNESCO best practice is that living landscapes should be maintained, that from town to farm, life should continue. UNESCO are strongly against any idea of museumifying the landscape. Additionally, being placed on the tentative list is really only the start of a process of communication and cooperation between landowners, the local authority, and all other stakeholders, which would take place over several years. It's very much a community-led and ground-up process. So basically, what we are aiming for is really only to get to the starting line of this process. The process itself would promote greater engagement with local communities, discussion forums, school visits, and so on, as well as engagement with other World Heritage sites nationally and internationally. Considerable work has been put into the draft tentative list application already, as Dorothy noted, and it has been reviewed positively by an international reviewer and the National Monument Service. But there is a lot of work still to be done on this, in particular engagement with landowners and other stakeholders. And as you can imagine, our current situation with COVID has made this difficult. A baseline study of the monuments is essential, and Sligo Neolithic Landscapes are in the process of sourcing funding for this. And this study will help us to assess which sites are most endangered or perhaps unsuitable for visitors, and which could be key visitor locations. There are several key locations which could be envisaged in the proposed World Heritage Site. For instance, Carramore, Knocknarea, Carrakeel and Ballygawley. And you might, for instance, imagine a visitor, coming to Sligo and moving between these and other locations. And in fact, that's a great sort of advantage of this site. There's other heritage sites in the world, and a visitor might go there for half a day or maybe just 2 hours, not even stay in the locality. Whereas you might imagine a visitor here, spending several days staying in the hotels and maybe trying to get to all of these sort of key locations to see the landscape from different perspectives. So what would the benefits be of World Heritage status? Significantly, it would raise the national and international profile of the county. It would help us achieve a professionally assessed model of sustainable tourism. Importantly, a byproduct of this process will, by necessity, be a management plan, which will help ensure our Neolithic heritage is fully protected for future generations. And finally, it would provide support and potential funding for landowners and also for communities. So on that note, I would like to thank you for your attention here and for the invitation to speak at this ordinary meeting of Sligo County Council. Stefan and I are very happy to take any questions you might have in the time available.
Thank you very much, Robert, for that. And just on my own behalf, as Cathaoirleach, there's no doubt that the Sligo's Neolithic landscapes are an exceptional heritage asset for the whole county, and that they are unparalleled in world terms. And I think Sligo County Council and the members welcome this community-led initiative. I'm going to let Councillor Gilroy in now, who's chair of the Sligo Heritage Forum.
Thanks very much, Cathaoirleach, and thanks, Stefan, for the presentation. We look forward to having you come before the Heritage Forum as well, which we welcome. The partnership between Sligo County Council and the Sligo Neolithic Landscapes Group marks the beginning of a process that would see the future sustainable management of Sligo's Neolithic landscape. This initiative is very welcome, and the support of Sligo Heritage Forum is assured. So again, I look forward to seeing you again at that. I suppose if I had any question, firstly, is to welcome the living landscapes. It's something I very much believe in. And to wonder maybe if it can be extended to other areas in the county. And, I'd be thinking of Cairns Hill and Creevy Keel and places like that. So just wondering, are we as well to stay focused on the key area first and then follow up with adding other areas? But thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Casserly. Councillor Casserly, yeah. Can you hear us, Ray?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Firstly, congratulations to you, Robert, and all involved in this fantastic project. It's amazing that there's only 13 in the whole world, and we have such a unique offering in Sligo that needs to be listed on the tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It's very important that living landscapes should be maintained, but also, Robert, you mentioned the fact that they need to be protected, and we all know the damage that has been done on these sites. So I suppose that's probably the most important thing, that they are maintained, but they are to be protected as well. And of course, as you said, a huge priority is the promoting of sustainable tourism, because that's the way that every country is going now, and also the importance of raising the national and international profile of the county. And that has to be welcome. So anything, I suppose, promotes Sligo on a national and an international stage has to be welcome. So I wish you well with the rest of the consultations and the applications, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the next stage of where you're at this. So best of luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maguire. Councillor Maguire, we can't hear you. No audio. Sorry, I'll go to someone else and we'll come back to you maybe.
First of all, thanks for your presentation, Robert, and I'd like to welcome Stefan as well to it. I know the passion that you have for this as well, which is most important, and the drive that's in you. As it says, Carrickeel, Carramore, Ballygawley. Unfortunately, Carrikeel and Ballygawley, them two was raided at one stage, and people went in and took stones out of them and destroyed them. I suppose we have to be looking as well as Queen Maeve's Mountain and the works that's needed up there, and the ongoing concern with that. But I just want to highlight, is it something of interest to you that you might be thinking of including Inishmurray Island? You know, the importance of what's out in Inishmurray Island as well. And as I said, if it's about tourism and about what we have here, we need to be looking at the wider picture of Inishmurray and Queen Maeve and all the things that bring people to this area, especially Carramore sells itself, as I says, what we have there. There was a dig done there by Stefan back a couple of years ago where we came across one of the dices, and they reckon that the dice was as old as the Egyptian tombs. So there is a lot of stuff there that we need to be looking at, and I welcome the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Councillor Maguire. Sorry. No, there's a problem with the audio there. Councillor Baker indicated.
Thank you, Cahir. Can you hear me? Yeah. I'd just like to compliment Robert and his team. We're lucky to have the calibre of these people that's involved, and all I want to say is whatever the council can help them. So thank you.
Can I maybe to mute your microphone? Robert, is your microphone on mute? Can you mute your microphone for a moment, please, just to bring in all the talkers? We're getting a bit of feedback. Yeah. Councillor Baker?
Yeah, sorry now. All I want to say is just to compliment Robert and his team, and we're lucky to have such a team of people that has huge knowledge in this field. And I think as a council, we need to support them in whatever way we can to progress this. Thank you.
Can I hear that?
Yeah, Councillor Taylor.
I just thank Robert for the presentation, and thank himself and Stefan for the work they're doing as well. I'm delighted to see Carrikeel and the Hill of Caves that are right beside me there. There's really untold and untouched potential in all them areas, and you know, from a tourism, from profile of the county and a tourism profile, it's huge. I happened to be in Sweden a number of years ago with Sorore, and they have a lot of World Heritage sites there, and from the point of view of how actually busy it was from the point of tourism, it was unbelievable. So I definitely welcome what you were doing, and you have my support in every way, and good luck with the project.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I welcome the application. I think it's a very positive development for the county and the sites. I welcome that the site in Ballygawley has been included. There's very little promotion has been done of this or any work in the past. So hopefully this will attract some investment going forward. I'd like to thank Robert and his team for the report and the presentation, and wish them best of luck with the application going forward. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, members, and apologies there, Councillor Maguire.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Cahir, and thank you to Robert, Stefan, and the rest of the group for the presentation. I know that you've been working for 5 years, and obviously in your professional capacity for much longer, and have done Trojan work into preserving and increasing our knowledge of the incredible wealth that we have in Neolithic terms around this peninsula. I think this is a particularly exciting initiative. I brought a motion to the council over a year ago asking that we would support this initiative, so it's wonderful to see it come to this point today. I've been very fortunate. I've visited 45 UNESCO World Heritage sites around the world, and it is a remarkable thing to bring to any community. Heritage tourism has a huge potential for Sligo and for this country, and the fact that there are only 13 sites in Europe speaks to the high quality of an offering that we have here in Sligo. I very much welcome the points that you've made, Robert, in relation to the living landscape and the fact that this requires community support and that communication with the communities is a key factor. I think that's essential in order that people understand what this means, what the potential impact might be on them, and obviously the benefits that it would have, not only for tourism but also for the preservation of the monuments, which unfortunately we have seen impacted by the increase in tourism, particularly Knocknarea. The cairn has been damaged, quartz has been taken from the tomb, and we really want to see that stopped. So if this initiative could go some way to preserving those, it would be fantastic. I noticed that you mentioned funding, Robert. I'm just wondering if you could let us know where you would hope that funding to come from. You mentioned that it might go towards preserving the sites and also to the landowners. And also that this tentative site list would provide a management plan for the sites. That I think would be very welcome to communities as well as the landowners. And I just like to wish you well into the future and let you know of my continued support. I think that this would be an incredible achievement, both for Sligo County Council and of course for the Sligo Neolithic group. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mullaney. Councillor Mullaney, do you wish to speak on this? No. Gerard, you're on mute if you want to talk. No. I want to thank Stefan and Robert for taking part. Unfortunately, time constraints are against us that our full meeting has to be finished before 12 o'clock. So unfortunately, we can't get as much feedback today as we'd like on the subject, only that we wish you well on behalf of all the members and that we'll certainly look forward to working with you on this project. Thanks very much, and thanks to the members for their participation.